One of the most difficult parts of family court for me personally was the lack of fairness and the lack of justice. I walked into the courtroom believing or knowing who I am as a person, and also knowing the reality of who my ex-husband was behind his mask. And a really harsh reality for me was that the courts don't care. Their kind of spectrum of what is allowable as a person and as a parent is much different than mine. And so there was a huge disconnect. And I would sit there and I would watch him just lie to the courts, and I would think, how do they not see this? He's lying. And then I remembered, it took me years to see who he was, to see behind that mask. And I have a different perspective on it now because I sit in the court system and I watch cases and I watch people ping pong back and forth, and you see the worst side of humanity. People are arguing and fighting, and you can't tell who's lying and who's telling the truth, and sometimes they can be emotional and seem very dramatic. And there are days I leave the courthouse thinking, gosh, I completely understand why that judge gave 50-50 custody in that particular case, because I didn't know who to believe or wouldn't have known who was the healthy parent in the equation, because they were both so convincing. And so I truly believe that in a lot of situations when judges just don't know, they cite 50-50 because in their minds the child at least has a 50% chance to turn out okay. And that's a really harsh reality when you're in this family court system. And I had to come to the place where I thought, wow, it took me over 6 years to see who my ex-husband was. And it took the judge about that same amount of time. I was living with the person on a daily basis, and it still took me years to see behind the mask completely. So the fact that my judge got it after, a handful of years, if you look at it from that perspective, it's actually, I do feel like I'm one of the lucky ones. A lot of it is truly how you present your case, and there's nothing quick or fair about family court. So I know when you're in it, it's so frustrating and you want your kids protected yesterday. But just remember that it takes time. It takes time for them to see who you're dealing with, for you to show the patterns of behavior, and for it to rise to a level of concern for the court. It has to really be a repeat issue and register on their scale. When they are seeing such horrible abuse, and then my case or maybe your case comes in and it's not as compelling, we kind of get filed on their priority list as not rising to that level of concern. A lot of times what happens is the family court professionals become calloused by the horrible abuse that they see on a daily basis, and they may not take our situations as seriously as we believe they should. It's not to say that's right. It's just kind of the perspective that I've gained from spending a lot of time in courtrooms and watching proceedings and following cases. Again, it comes down to there's really nothing quick or fair about the family court system. But I do see cases every day where the judge finally gets it, or the person has finally revealed who they really are behind the mask, or one of my clients through a lot of work has been very successful at showcasing patterns of abuse, solid documentation, and proving that what they have been saying is the truth. So hang in there. You know, the one thing I held on to throughout my whole battle was faith and hope. And you have to have both of those to get through this battle. I truly believe that. I am cheering you on, and best of luck to you.